Let me know when you're here. Make sure to say hello. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm Teresa with Teresa Renee Art. I am working on a mixed media piece today. I have a terrible glare here from the sun shining right through that window, so sorry about that. When I turn my camera down, it won't be as noticeable, but it makes my this side look washed. It's perfect for my project view, but for my face view, it's not so great. So let me know when you're here. Make sure to say hello. Hi, Brenda. How are you doing? So I'm streaming in 3 places today. I'm on my art page. I'm on the Decoupage and Mixed Media Inspirations group, and also on the Teresa Renee Art YouTube channel. You guys, so we started working on Jaleo on Tuesday, and we left it alone. Kind of left some things to dry. It looks really good. We've made some great progress. Oh gosh, Central Illinois, you guys are having crazy heat too. It's just I walked out. I got out of my car and walked around, and it was just it's hot. It's very hot. Hi Brenda, how are you? I hope you're doing well as well. So you guys, I have an hour. I want to turn my camera down. When you come on, just make sure to say hello. Um, but I want to turn my camera down so that we can go ahead and get started. And I want to show you what I've done, what I'm doing. This is what we ended up with, you guys, and I'm really happy. I did, of course, have to come in and fill in some cracks, and I knew that I would. So that was to be expected. So that is no problem there. Hello from Virginia. Hello. Is it hot in Virginia too, Brenda? Brenda. I got two Brendas on. Yeah. So, hey, Linda, how are you? Nice to see you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to move these to the side. I've got a couple of little framing pieces that are in the works, and I'm going to have to cast probably a few more because some of them I'm not happy with the way that they're turning out. But for the most part, you guys, I think I'm really happy with the progress. I did come through and I did continue with my castings. And I did put the columns on. Here's the top piece. Anything over 75 is too hot. Well, that is most days here in the South. So what I'm going to do up here, I had to patch a couple of areas, but I'm going to go ahead and take my sandpaper and just try to smooth out some of these little areas a little bit where I had to patch. And of course, I'm going to prime too and kind of get these all painted. I'm using a 220 grit sandpaper, which is a little bit on the finer side. I just want to smooth out some of these areas that I kind of had to come in with some more clay. So I'm going to clean that up. And, I kind of worked on this a little bit at a time, patching and then putting the columns on, etc., etc. I'm going to hit this with some acrylic primer. But before I do that, I'm actually going to clean. I'm just going to wipe off kind of the surface of my board because I have a lot of clay residue. The humidity in Alabama is suffocating. Yes, it is here too. In Atlanta, it is quite humid here as well. So I'm just going to clean off. I've got a lot of residue kind of left behind from where some of that clay kind of rubbed everywhere. So I want to clean that a little bit before I paint this with primer. And I'm going to use just the Pentart white acrylic primer. And I think I'm going to do, I'm probably going to have to do 2 coats of it, you guys. All right. So any questions? Thank you, Brenda. Hi, Maria. I'm sorry I can't translate it from what I'm watching right now. So I will go back and respond to you when I'm done here. Hi, Rima. Hello, Kathy. Hi, Miriam. Nice to see you. Thank you. Karen, this is we are trying to recreate the room where the painting El Jaleo currently lives. It lives in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. Rima could probably go there and take a picture of it for us. But I'll show you what it looks like. You guys, this is what it looks like. This is the room. And so I'm trying to sort of capture the essence of the artwork, not only the artwork, but the room where it currently hangs. Hello from Poland. It's a pity I don't understand. I don't know Polish either, Maria, but thank you for joining in anyway. Let's see. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get some primer on here. I'm going to primer the whole thing, you guys, because I am going to do a good amount of paint work as well, because I want to make the room look dark and moody. So I am going to go ahead and put primer on the whole base of the board. And remember, I also have to decoupage my paper on here, which is going to require a white background. Okay, so do we want to know a little bit about Isabella Stewart Gardner? She was basically an heiress. Her family made their money in the East Indies trade, silks and textiles, etc. So with all of her money, she opened her very own museum in 1902. It's the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. And when she died, she opened it it wasn't open to the public until she died. And when she died, she did open it to the public and kind of made it a public foundation under the condition that the position of the artworks, where she had them and how she had them arranged, would never change. Okay, so thank you, Jesse. Hi, Lori. Well, Karen, that's why I'm trying to kind of explain it as I go. Okay, so you guys can hopefully appreciate and follow along. So she met John Singer Sargent in, I guess it was like the 1880s. They met, and they became good friends. So they corresponded. There's lots of letters that exist between the two of them. And at one point, he even had, in her museum, he even had studio space there. And so they were very good friends. And she had portraits commissioned, a portrait actually of herself commissioned by Sargent. And so, you know, she's got all kinds, like if you go to this museum, there's just all kinds of beautiful, beautiful treasures. There's some Renoir. There is Zorn, Andrew Zorn, of course, lots of Sargents, but very priceless artworks. Okay. The museum was unfortunately targeted by a group of thieves. I don't remember what year that happened. My memory escapes me. But several priceless works of art were stolen and never recovered from the museum. And what happened, I think, like they somehow posed as security guards and like ran a confidence scam and kind of gained entrance that way. But it's one of the art world's most infamous art heists. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to read about that. I actually I read like a kind of a historical piece about it. But it was a long time ago, so the details escape me at this point. But anyway, so it was, and it is still unsolved. And apparently, actually, the book that I read was by one of the FBI agents who had worked on the case for many, many years and just kind of followed lots of cold trails. And I can't remember exactly which pieces were stolen or how many, but I think one of them was a Renoir, but I'm not positive. Rima or anybody else, if you know any of those details, feel free to share them. But anyway, so the point of this particular piece is about the El Jaleo. Okay, so last week we started looking at his piece, Madam X. Yeah, so yep, and there's like a picture with, you know, there's like and they're hoping that someday the pieces will be returned, so they're reserving those spots for them, which I find, you know, I hope that they return someday too, and I'm going to go back and see them when they do. But El Jaleo was painted in 1882, which, if you recall, was 2 years prior to his painting of Madame X. So in 1882, actually, he probably painted it before 1882, but it was exhibited at the Salon in Paris in 1882. And it was purchased by a gentleman named Thomas Coolidge. And I'm going to dry. Hold on one second. Hi, Amanda. So Thomas Coolidge was a distant relative or cousin of Isabella Stewart Gardner. But he was also an avid art collector, and he was also from Boston. And so, of course, you know, he may have even gone there to buy one of Sargent's pieces. We're not sure, but he came home as the proud owner in 1882. He became the owner of this painting. So again, I started talking about this painting on Tuesday. It is 12 feet wide. It is colossal. And so for a time when Coolidge had it, he actually lent it to the Museum of Fine Art in Boston. And it was on display there for about 4 years, during which time Isabella Stewart Gardner saw the piece for the very first time. And when she saw it, she became absolutely obsessed and smitten with this piece of art. Um, and she offered to buy it from Coolidge, and he turned her down on numerous occasions, wanting to keep it for himself. But by that time, as you know, in 1902, she had already had. So this went on for a period of years, and then she had her museum built in 1902, and she kept persisting with Thomas Coolidge that the piece come live with her, and he kept refusing. Well, that didn't stop her, so she had this Spanish cloister room. She had work started on it, and she had the whole room built, including this archway. She had the measurements of the painting. She had the whole room built, especially for this painting, before she even owned it or even had any inclination from Coolidge that he was going to sell it to her. So that was quite presumptuous, I thought, but also very bold. And so she had it completed. I can't remember how long it took, but it took a while because it's a whole room. But she had artisans come in and, install Spanish tiles and just created this whole theme of a room around this painting that she didn't even own. She invited Coolidge to come see it. And when he saw the room, he gave her the painting on the spot. Gave her the painting. I guess he thought if she was going to put that much time and effort into it, that she really needed to have it. So he had spent about the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars on it, which at the time was quite a lot of money. But that is how it came to be living at the Isabella. Okay, so if you're ever in Boston, please go visit the painting. Sit in the room for a while. Actually, you can't sit in it, but stand in the room for a while and just appreciate the magnificence. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the painting and why I personally like it so much as well. Okay, so about the subject of the painting, Sargent had spent a number of years in Spain, and during that time he became very enamored with Spanish culture and Spanish dance in particular, flamenco dancers in particular. And so what he was trying to do here was he was really trying to portray the movement of the flamenco dancer, and he uses a lot of contrast in his artwork, like very, very sharp contrast. So you've got this very bright white, and then you have these very black, they're butting up against the darkest and the lightest areas in the painting are telling you exactly where to look. So he wants you to focus on the movement of her dress and the you know, movement in her arm as she's posing. And then there's just like the whole thing is very monochromatic. And then you just have these very vivid splashes of color, like this red over here. And she's getting into it. She's like, yes. This is also a dancer, and she's kind of mimicking the moves. Then you have the guitar players down here, and now these guys kind of all are looking the same. But then you also have, I don't know if you can really see, but you've got these just gorgeous pops and touches of green up in here. So he was a master of guiding you around the painting. It's like you start here, but then yes, you're going to look over here because again, you've got some contrast, some kind of jagged lines, right? Some contrast here. And then he uses color over here to make you look over here. So lots and lots going on here. But I just wanted to kind of share with you one of the reasons why I like it so much is because he uses all of the tools that artists have available to them in order to tell a particular story. And that's all we have, you know, as artists. We have color, we have contrast. Of course, the realism helps, you know, the fact that he made it look very realistic, that helps tell the story. The subject matter, of course, but you only have a certain amount of tools really to tell the viewer what's important. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to paint these pieces with the gold pigment fix, you guys, and I'm going to use the gold pigment powder and the pigment fix product, assuming I can find them. I do have some pigment fix around here somewhere. There it is. Let me grab that. Let's see. Text my daughter back. Let's see. My daughter texted me. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me just make sure she's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mix up my pigments with the pigment fix. And does anybody know what year that art heist was? I want to say it was in the 80s, but I am not positive. Somebody look that up for me because I would like to know what year that was. This is antique gold. I actually want gold. I want to do gold. Let's go a little bit brighter. Okay. All right. Let me mix this up. 1990. Okay. Okay. And Rima, I'm not to turn you into my Googler, but tell me if you know, if you can find out which ones were the artworks that were stolen. And they were very calculated. Like it wasn't random what they took, because they, you know, they only had a few minutes. So they had clearly been casing it. They knew exactly what they were there for. And they were in and out very quickly. Okay, let's see. 13 paintings. All right, so I'm just going to come over here. What I did just there, that was the Pentart pigment fix that I mixed with the gold pigment powder. Hi, Ronnie. How are you? Thank you so much for joining. Because I want to get that decoupaged on there, and then I want to go ahead and put these frames on here, but I don't want to paint the frames after I've glued them down. I am going to have to come in and patch a couple of them with some new clay, and then I'll have to paint those tomorrow. But if I can get the majority of these painted and put on and glued down tonight, then that will help me. Okay. So if you go visit the museum, spend some time. Of course, they have a lovely cafe, which is very delicious. I've eaten there several times, but spend some time in the courtyard. So in the courtyard, they will often have, well, a lot of times they have like photo shoots and stuff going on, but a lot of times they'll have musicians playing. And it's these beautiful ladies, you know, like last time I was there, they had a harp player, and she was in like this beautiful white gown, and the whole courtyard was just full of flowers. I mean, I felt like I was in the middle of like the romantic era. It's like it just really transports you to another place in time. Okay, so the concert by Vermeer, The Storm and the Sea of Galilee by Rembrandt, A Lady and Gentleman in Black, Rembrandt, Landscape with Obelisk, Flink, Chet, Che Tortoni by Manet, Rembrandt's Self-Portrait, Degas, so several Degas, Rembrandt's, Vermeer, Manet. So priceless works of art. Who knows where they're at now? So for a while, like all I read was either fiction or historical fiction about art heists. I don't know why I'm so fascinated with that, but I am. I just find it very intriguing and fascinating. Oh, yes. So did you ever read or watch the movie Rima the Goldfinch? That was a very good one that I recommend if you like that genre. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down, but before I do that, I just want to make sure that I'm level and even. So I'm just going to measure this up against the bottom to make sure. So I'm at about 3 inches there. Look at that. I was not level. So I need to come up a little bit here. 3 inches. Probably what I should do is just mark it off. That's what I should do. So I'll do 3. I'll do 3. And that way I'll know this is the bottom. Okay, so that's my line to indicate where the bottom of my painting should go. And then I'm going to measure out from the edge as well. So if I've got about 10 centimeters on this side, and then about 10 centimeters on that side. Okay, so I actually did pretty good on that one. So let me just come over just a touch. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this down. We're gonna commit. I think that looks right. Let's commit. All right. And we'll get this glued down. Let's get this glued down. If I was an art thief involved in that heist, I would have taken some sergeants. Yeah, but it's like a house. Like if you go in there, it feels like a house, and there is no space on the walls that is left untouched. It is completely full of artworks. Hi, Wanda. How are you? 81 minutes for two thieves. Which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. Yeah, and somehow, like the whole thing, like they were thinking that somebody on the inside was involved because the alarms didn't go off, or they just hadn't they didn't invest in the right equipment, you know, and like the guards didn't stop them, or I don't remember, but it is a very interesting story, and I can't even remember the name of the book that I read, you guys, so I'm not really prepared as much to talk about the heist. But if you do find some reading on it, it was a very interesting story. Okay. So yeah, and then to think, so this painting was pretty successful when he exhibited it at the Salon in 1882. And by contrast, 2 years later, when he exhibited Madame X, kind of just how different the reception was by the exact same artist. So after that, he pretty much stuck to commissioned works. Okay. All right, so let me dry this, and then in addition, maybe some of these pieces will get dry, and we'll glue those on. We have a couple little spots we need to get on. Let me put this out of the way for just a second, you guys. Move that out of the way just a minute. And let's come over and grab our, need to make sure the sides of these are done. On the tops. Okay. All right. So what else are you guys up to this week? Anything fun happening this week? We are just a couple weeks away from school starting here. Tomorrow I have a couple of my Decoupage Queen retailers coming to visit me. I have Shannon from Pickin' Boots coming, and Michaela from Paint Fixation coming. So they will be here on tomorrow. Oof. They're going to join me for the Decoupage Queen 3rd birthday celebration, you guys. That is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. Let's see. I know. Yeah, they start on August 2nd. The time just flies by, you know? Seems like the summers get shorter and shorter. Okay. Got hair everywhere. Oh, goodness. Yeah. So we end in mid-May. All right, let me dry that. And then we will get those glued on. Oh. Let me dry this while I'm at it. I'm using the metal pigment, the gold metal pigment, with the Pentart pigment fix. So I mixed up my own gold. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and get what I can get glued down. And then I need to fill in some spots because I wanted to let the clay have kind of plenty of time to dry naturally and do its shrinking or whatever it was going to do. And in the process, I actually lost one of the pieces because it wasn't glued down. It ended up curling a little bit, which doesn't suit me very well. Okay. All right. Let's get that cleaned up. All right, and then let's come up top. Get this one cut. So I am going to have to cast its replacement. which is no problem. Thank you. The frame that I'm using is the LeBlanche. It's from the Frames 2 mold, this one. And the reason I chose this was because it's very plain, and then it has two that I can that I could cast at once to help save me time. And I did kind of miter the corners so that they would join at the top. Let's see. Okay. And this is the piece. So this is the one that I lost some of. And I may actually just, it's a little bit warped still. So I may just cast that whole thing again. So I will come up here. And I don't want to cover up any of my red. Okay. So this one I didn't miter. It didn't look mitered in the picture, but then when I took a closer look at it, I think it actually is. And then I can smooth that out with a little bit of modeling paste or something. And then I had a little piece here to extend that. So this is kind of what I have so far for the frame, you guys. I'm not sure. Let's try that and just see. We think that's going to work. I'm not really happy with that edge either. It's not as smooth as this side. All right, so I'm going to recast that one and play with that. So that gives you an idea of how I'm going to frame it out. So I'll finish all that part off camera. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start painting some of my background stuff. And so that gives you an idea with those there. I just wanted you to kind of get a concept for what the frame was going to look like. But I do have some more work to do there. Okay, so I am going to paint all of this. I've done it. I've done the primer. And let me scooch this up so you can kind of see. I turned it upside down because I don't want to touch my work up there. So if I were to grab my image, we know that this is kind of like a stone gray. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to paint this like a brown color, my earthy brown, which is my favorite. You guys should have seen that one coming, right? So I'm going to paint this in my earthy brown first, and then we are going to build up that stony color. And the good news is this down here is going to be very dark also, so I don't have to be particularly careful about what I do with my paint as I'm moving around that. So we're going to be continuing this on possibly tomorrow. Nope, I won't be able to do it tomorrow because I have guests coming in. So we are going to have to continue this into next week, you guys. Thank you, Linda. So we will be continuing this into next week. There's a lot that has to happen with the painting. I will take the opportunity off camera. over the weekend and whatnot to finish out the framing. So that will be done. And I'm using Pentart acrylic. The color I'm using is earthy brown, which is kind of my go-to base color a lot of times. And I hope I can do it a little bit, I hope I can do it justice and make it look as majestic as it really is. So my friends, I'm very good friends with the team over at Paper Designs. And of course, I could have put these in the Decoupage Queen collection. But they have this whole beautiful section dedicated to artworks. And so I had mentioned it to them that I would absolutely love it. And I would be honored if they would consider including some prints by Sargent in their artworks collection. And so they did on their last release. And of course, I had to have them all. So I'm going to slowly be doing some pieces with all of the Sargent artworks that they have available, because they really do speak to me. So why do I love Sargent so much? So I took classical oil painting. I took it for 4 years. And during the course of that time, we spent a lot of time studying his artwork, his techniques. And I have not painted any, but I have drawn my fair share. I've actually drawn her. So I've done, kind of copied a lot of his artworks and looked at his paintings in books, and have just spent a lot of time as an artist studying his work. So I told my husband when I turned 40 for my 40th birthday that I wanted to go to Boston so I could see this painting in person. So I did. On my 40th birthday, my husband took me to Boston. We celebrated in Boston. We had a lovely time. It was just amazing. It was every bit as amazing as I thought it would be. At the time, we were really struggling because we were trying to have a baby and it was not happening. And I was 40 and, I was feeling pretty depressed and wasn't sure that I was going to be able to become a mom. And so that trip was very emotional for me on a number of levels. Well, 9 months later, after my trip to Boston, my son Evan was born. So Boston is a very magical place, is all I can say. And a lot of great things can happen in that awesome city. So that's me probably oversharing, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to be a little bit vulnerable sometimes, right? Julie, that's awesome. Yep. So my son, Evan, is my little Boston baked bean. And it was funny because I shared the pictures, you know, my 40th birthday pictures. I shared all the pictures on Facebook of our Boston trip. And I hadn't told anybody about being pregnant. But I inserted in the Facebook pictures, I inserted a picture of the ultrasound in it. And I was like, and here's a little souvenir that we brought home. In fact, if you search on my personal page, if we're friends on Facebook and you search my Boston album, you'll see that in there. But yeah, that's how we announced it. It was so cute. And it was such an answered prayer because we tried for a long time and nothing was happening. Well, things were happening, just not the right things. So he's stuck. So you guys may not know, some of you may not know that my girls, who are older than Evan, are adopted. So they came later because actually Jeff and I had kind of decided we would try again. And I don't know why we were thinking anything would be different this time, but nothing was happening. And then we had the opportunity to adopt them. So that was pretty amazing. So now my family is pretty much complete, I would say. Okay. So what I'm going to use over the top here is I'm going to use the Pentart Chalky in Vintage Beige. And 67 years later, all her cousins call her Chelsea. That's awesome. Yes. All right. So we're probably going to do a couple colors in here. Maybe a little bit of hazelnut. Is that what this one is? This one is Taklon. Let's do a little bit of Taklon. And let's see what else we got. That one's going to be too bright. Where's my hazelnut? You guys know I love my hazelnut too. I don't have anything in the chocolate paint. Then go. Maybe this one. This is like a kind of like a lighter gray. So now I'm just kind of building up some layers of color, you guys. Because I don't want the whole thing to just look like one solid color. I want it to have some variation because it is quite old. It has been sitting in this room for 100 years. So she acquired it in 1912, you guys. That was when she finally brought it to the museum in 1912 from having been painted in 1882. So 30 years later, you guys, it reached its destination. Did you guys get the thing sorted out, honey?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll tell you the story of the battle between me and the hacker later.
Oh, you had a battle between with the hacker?
Yep.
Did he try to steal your account too?
No.
Oh. Who's the hacker? Do you know the hacker?
No.
Oh, okay.
But Alex got his account back.
Okay, awesome.
And also, when will you be done? When I want to tell you the story to win dinner.
Okay, I'll be done in about 5 minutes. All right. So my son's friend, they play Roblox together, and my son's friend, his Roblox account keeps getting hacked twice. So Evan and his friend had a meeting to discuss a plan of action, right, to deal with this hacker. Is that what you guys did?
And the hacker made a deal with me, which I'll tell you about later.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Shout out to his channel. His channel name is Alex Plays 9846.
Alex Plays 9846.
No spaces.
Okay.
And a Z instead of an S.
All right.
So, big shout out to him.
Big shout out.
Yes.
All right. Well, you tell those hackers we don't like hackers around here. We will do everything we can to stop those hackers.
Yes. Go subscribe to him.
Yep. Okay.
And Mom, that counts for you too.
Okay. I think I'm already subscribed to Alex, honey.
Okay, cool.
So see, I'm just kind of layering some color on there. Different shades and tones to make it look very old. And I know it may be a little bit difficult to see all the way down at the bottom of my screen. So just some variation. And then, of course, we have a lot of things at our disposal. We have vintage aging products, waxes, all sorts of ways. But right now, I'm just going to focus on what I can do with paint. And then we may take it further at the end. But I'm going to take my time, you guys, because I really do want this to look very thorough and very, very much like the stone on that archway. So I'm just trying to take my time and get my bases covered. We're not in any hurry to finish it. I want it to look as authentic as possible. So you can see I've just got all of this we've got a lot of different things happening in that color. It's not just one solid color, right? So I have some of that browner coming through. You do get a feel of some of that dark brown underneath it. So we're going to continue that along the whole archway. And then we'll probably do like some antiquing paste or something in the corners or in some spots to kind of frame out some of the edges. Good. All right. Hi, Kathy. How are you? So yeah, something very different. This is going to be like sort of a cross between is like mixed media meets fine art. right? Not really fine art, but probably more mixed media, but it's like not your traditional type of mixed media, I guess. So I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you've learned a little bit. I hope you walk away with somewhat of an appreciation for some of these just masters, right, of art that live in our history and continue. I mean, 200 years later, continue to inspire us. Okay. Let's continue. All right. Okay, so I like the way this is looking. I am out of time, you guys. I've got to run up to church. My daughters did a choir tour where they went and visited some churches and sang for them earlier in the summer. And this week it's our turn. So we actually have a visiting youth choir from, I think it's Indianapolis, and they are performing for us tonight. So my daughters are there right now serving them dinner, and they are performing at 7. So I am going to go watch them. So that is all I have tonight. Of course, we'll continue this next week, you guys. It may take us both sessions next week to finish. Again, I'm not in any hurry. I'm keeping this. This is not going for sale. It's not going on my auction. I am keeping it. And someday when my son is old enough to appreciate the story, maybe this will become his. You guys, thank you for joining me tonight. And Kathy, I'm so happy. That's awesome. Thank you guys for joining me tonight, and I wish you a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.